Welcome to Shadows of the Past, where we unravel history's darkest mysteries. Today, we're diving into an epic journey into the life of one of America's most notorious female serial killers, Belle Gunnes, born Brynhild Paulsdatter Sturseth. Known as Hell's Belle or the Lady Bluebeard, she turned a quiet Indiana farm into a slaughterhouse, luring men to their deaths with promises of love and prosperity, all to amass a fortune through cold-blooded murder and insurance fraud. Her victim count? Anywhere from 14 to over 40. But the biggest question remains, did she perish in a fiery blaze, or did she vanish to kill again? This is a marathon episode, so grab a drink, settle in, and let's step into the shadows. If you're sensitive to graphic descriptions of violence and death, listener discretion is advised. Part 1. Roots in the Fjords, Early Life in Norway. Our story begins not in the American Midwest, but in the rugged, misty hills of 19th century Norway. On November 11th, 1859, in the tiny village of Selbu, nestled in what's now Trøndelag County, Brynhild Paulsdatter Sturseth was born. The youngest of 8 children, she grew up on a small farm called Sturseth, where her parents, Paul and Berit, struggled to survive as stonemasons and farmers. Their life was bleak. 1 cow, a handful of sheep, and endless winters. Hunger was a constant companion. Brynhild's childhood was no fairy tale. By her teens, she was working grueling jobs on nearby farms, milking cows, herding cattle, anything to help her family scrape by. Selbu was steeped in folklore, with tales of trolls and Viking heroes, but for Brynhild, reality was far harsher. A chilling local story hints at what shaped her. Around age 17, she allegedly attended a country dance, pregnant with the child of a wealthy farmer's son. He attacked her, kicking her in the stomach, causing a miscarriage. Not long after, he died mysteriously, officially from stomach cancer, but whispers in Selbu pointed to poison. This moment, if true, changed her. A spark of vengeance, a seed of ruthlessness took root. Norway in the 1800s was a land of desperation. Famine and overpopulation pushed thousands to emigrate to America, chasing land and opportunity. Brynhild's older sister, Nellie, had already left for Chicago. In 1881, at 22, Brynhild followed, boarding a ship across the Atlantic. She passed through Castle Garden in New York, shedding her Norwegian name for something more American, Belle. A new life awaited, but so did a darker path. Chicago in the 1880s was a chaotic, booming city. For Norwegian immigrants, it was a place of promise and peril, with crowded tenements and exploitative jobs. Belle worked as a domestic servant, then in a butcher shop, wielding cleavers to carve meat, a skill she'd later turn to horrific ends. She was tall for her time, at least 5 feet 7 inches, and robust, weighing over 200 pounds, with a commanding presence that could charm or intimidate. This was an era of opportunity, but also of danger. Norwegian immigrants brought their Lutheran values and work ethic, clustering in neighborhoods like Swedetown. But some, like Belle, saw the American dream as a game to be played and won at any cost. Part 2. Love, Loss, and Insurance. The Chicago Years. As a department store guard. They seemed like an ordinary couple, even opening a confectionery store in Chicago. But in 1896, that store burned to the ground under suspicious circumstances. The insurance payout was generous, and a pattern began to emerge. Their home later caught fire too. Another claim, another windfall. Belle and Mads had no biological children, but took in foster children, Caroline, Axel, Myrtle, and Lucy. Tragically, Caroline and Axel died young, both from what Belle called acute colitis. The symptoms, convulsions, nausea, looked eerily like strychnine poisoning. For each child, Belle collected insurance money. Neighbors whispered they'd never seen her pregnant. Then, on July 30th, 1900, Mads himself died suddenly. Belle said he'd complained of a headache, so she gave him quinine. Hours later, he was convulsing, then dead. The doctor listed cerebral hemorrhage as the cause, but others suspected poison. Conveniently, his death happened on the one day his 2 life insurance policies overlapped, netting Belle $5,000, roughly $180,000 in today's money. No autopsy was ordered, no charges were filed. Now a wealthy widow, Belle took her money and her surviving children, Myrtle and Lucy, to a new life. In 1901, she bought a 48-acre hog farm in LaPorte, Indiana, a quiet town that would soon become the stage for her deadliest acts. In April 1902, Belle remarried, this time to Peter Gunnes, a Norwegian widower with 2 daughters. Just 1 week after the wedding, Peter's infant daughter died while alone with Belle, cause unknown. 8 months later, Peter met a bizarre end. Belle claimed a sausage grinder fell from a kitchen shelf, crushing his skull. The story raised eyebrows, but she collected $3,000 in insurance. A coroner's inquest smelled murder, yet Belle walked free. Now, with Myrtle, Lucy, and a new foster son, Philip, Belle was a single mother again, running a farm with a growing reputation. To neighbors, she was a hard-working widow. But behind her warm smile, a predator was awakening. Lovely widow, left with prosperous farm, wishes to make acquaintance of gentlemen equally well provided. Triflers need not apply. Part 3. The Lonely Heart's Trap, Victims and Modus Operandi. He withdrew $3,000 before visiting. His trunk was found in Belle's barn, but John was gone. She said he'd left for Norway. Ole B. Budsberg, 1907, a widower from Iola, Wisconsin. He cashed checks and traveled to LaPorte. His sons later identified his rings among the farm's grim discoveries. Andrew Helgelian, 1908, a farmer from Aberdeen, South Dakota. He exchanged passionate letters with Belle, dreaming of a future together. He arrived with $2,900, last seen digging in her yard, perhaps his own grave. His brother Azel's persistence would later expose her crimes. There were others, Emil Tell, George Berry, Christ Boverson, and more. Hired hands like Olaf Lindboe came to work and never left. Estimates suggest dozens of bodies, torsos hacked, skulls crushed, were buried across her property. Belle was meticulous, cleaning her home obsessively, disposing of evidence with chilling precision. She hired a farmhand, Ray Lamphere, in 1907. He fell for her, but Belle kept him at arm's length. When he grew jealous of her suitors, she fired him, later accusing him of threatening her life. The stage was set for her final act. This section could stretch longer, as each victim's story is a tragedy. Imagine a man stepping off a train, clutching a suitcase filled with his life savings, hopeful for love. He sits at Belle's table, eating her home-cooked meal, unaware it's his last. Her children play nearby, oblivious, or perhaps complicit. The horror lies in the routine. She killed again and again, her farm a machine of death. Part 4. The Inferno and Unearthing Horror, the 1908 Fire. On April 28, 1908, everything changed. In the dead of night, Belle's farmhouse erupted in flames. Joe Maxon, a farmhand sleeping upstairs, barely escaped, alerting the town. Firefighters arrived too late. The house was ash. In the rubble, they found horror. The bodies of Myrtle, Lucy, and Philip, Belle's children, burned beyond recognition. Nearby was a headless adult woman, presumed to be Belle. But something didn't add up. The body was small, 5 feet 3 inches and barely 150 pounds. Belle was taller, heavier, a towering figure. Was this really her? Asel Helgelian, Andrew's brother, arrived in LaPorte demanding answers. He pushed authorities to dig. In the hog pen, they found Andrew's body hacked and wrapped in sacks. Then more, body after body, some just parts. At least 11 were identified, but estimates suggest up to 40 victims littered the farm. The town was stunned. Laporte, a sleepy community, had harbored a monster. Suspicion fell on Ray Lamphere, the fired farmhand. He was arrested for arson and murder, but the question lingered. Was Belle among the dead? Part 5. Trial, Theories, and Escape. Ray Lamphere's trial gripped the nation in 1908. Prosecutors painted him as Belle's accomplice, turned vengeful arsonist. He was convicted of setting the fire but acquitted of murder. In prison, he told a wild story. Belle had killed 42 people, he claimed, and faked her death by using a stand-in, possibly Jenny Olson, a foster girl she'd sent to California. Lamphere died in jail, his words unproven. Did Belle die in the fire? Many doubted it. The headless body didn't match her size. Some believed she drugged her children, killed a substitute woman, and set the fire to escape with her fortune. Possibly $250,000, a king's ransom then. Sightings of Belle popped up across America for years. In 1931, a woman named Esther Carlson died in Los Angeles, arrested for poisoning men. She looked eerily like Belle, carried similar poisons, and targeted Scandinavian men. Was it her? No one knows. Other theories swirl. Some say she returned to Norway, living quietly. Others claim she haunted her farm, a ghostly figure in Laporte's folklore. In 2008, attempts to test the headless body's DNA failed to settle the question. Belle's fate remains one of history's great mysteries. This section could linger on the theories. Picture a woman slipping away in the night, her children sacrificed for freedom. Or perhaps she burned, her crimes catching up to her. The lack of closure fuels the legend, Belle Gunnes, the killer who got away. Part 6. Legacy in Media and Culture. Belle Gunnes lives on in true crime lore. Books like Hell's Princess dissect her crimes, while novels like In the Garden of Spite imagine her inner world. Podcasts, from Timesuck to Norwegian shows like Historiska Trøndelag, keep her story alive. A 2005 documentary, Only Belle, a serial killer from Selbu, brought her Norwegian roots to light. There are songs, plays, even talk of a Hollywood movie. In Norway, she's a dark mark on Selbu's history, a cautionary tale of ambition gone wrong. In America, she's a symbol of the Wild West's underbelly, where greed and opportunity collided. Online, fans debate her body count and whether she escaped. Her farm, now just a field, draws curious visitors, some claiming to feel her presence. Part 7. Broader context and conclusion. Belle Gunnes didn't kill in a vacuum. The late 1800s were a time of upheaval. Norwegian immigrants flooded the Midwest, chasing dreams of land and wealth. Most built honest lives, but Belle twisted that dream into a nightmare. Compared to killers like H.H. Holmes, who built a murder castle in Chicago, Belle was unique, a woman who killed for profit, not passion, using her gender as a weapon. Widows were trusted, pitied. She exploited that to deadly effect. What drove her? Greed, certainly. She amassed a fortune. Revenge, perhaps, from that early betrayal in Norway. Or was she simply a sociopath, devoid of remorse? Her psychology fascinates us because it defies easy answers. She was a mother, a neighbor, a monster. As we close this marathon journey, Belle's story leaves us with a warning. Trust can be a trap. Her farm, once a place of promise, became a graveyard. Whether she died in 1908 or slipped into the shadows, her legacy endures, a chilling reminder that evil can hide behind a smile. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the saga of Belle Gunnes. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Belle escaped? Until next time, stay curious and watch who you trust.